Humans have always been ready for conducting experiments, but what happens when people cross the limit for conducting experiments which may be fatal for people and our planet? In this video, we have assembled a list of the 10 most dangerous, most terrifying experiments in history.
And a huge shout out goes to Sean M for commenting on our last video.
Number 10. Project Stormfury. The United States of America is one of those countries in the world which like to experiment with a few things to go up in the field of scientific technology. One such experiment which proved fatal was in the late 1940s. A doctor by the name of Erwin Langmuir came up with an idea of using ice crystals to weaken cyclones so that cyclones would be less fatal and the loss of life and property would be prevented. So they dropped a load of ice crystals onto it, but what happened next is exactly the opposite. After dropping the crystals, the hurricane changed its direction and it reached near the coastal city of Savannah, Georgia, causing loss of life and property. Number 9. Elephant and acid. Truco was the name given to the elephant which was intoxicated with LSD, and believe it or not, the quality of LSD which was given to the elephant was 3,000 more times a regular human can intake. This experiment was done so as to study the behaviour of the male elephants, after injecting the LSD to determine as if it would create a temporary madness in them, which is a condition known as must, where the elephant becomes over-violent and uncontrollable. And things turned worse when the elephant that was experimented on died 45 to 50 minutes later, and this was classed as the most terrifying experiments in history. Number 8. Heart stabbing. You may be wondering that some intruder might have stabbed someone's heart, right? Except for the fact that the person who did the stabbing in fact stabbed his own heart. Werner Theodor Otto Forssmann was a German surgical trainee and put himself under local anaesthetic. He inserted a catheter into one of the veins in his arms. Yes, you heard that right, a catheter. He pushed the catheter slowly through the vein, past his bicep, past his shoulder, down to his heart cavity. This was so risky and life-threatening because one of the veins could have pierced something really unfortunate, like an artery or a vein, and he could have died in that very moment. But luck favoured him as he successfully completed his experiment, and thanks to him, developed a process for cardiac catheterization. So he was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1956. Number 7. Experiments by Nazis. Any lists of terrifying experiments in history will be incomplete without talking about what the Nazis did. Nazi, the word itself, would have you picture Hitler in your mind, and we all know the atrocities and horrors that were happening at that very moment when Hitler ruled. Here is where things get terrifying. Humans became a source for Nazis to experiment on. Some of them were freezing experiments, amputations, and experiments with poison, which led to many deaths across the country, and many people ended up with intellectual and cognitive disabilities with the use of these gruesome tortures. Number 6. Russian borehole. You may be thinking as to whether digging a borehole is really an experiment, but hear me out. A borehole purposely dug at about 40,000 feet was a dangerous experiment. It started on May 24th, 1970, using various sophisticated equipment. The attempt was to dig as far as possible into the Earth's crust. Luckily today, the same borehole is the deepest artificial point on Earth and has become a site of various geophysical studies. The borehole was dug so far into the Earth's crust that it could have led to a complete shift in the Earth's tectonic plates, causing earthquakes and other catastrophes. Number 5. Hadron Collider. Ever heard of the Large Hadron Collider? If not, it's the world's most powerful particle collider. It is located at an underground facility in Switzerland. Its sole creation was to learn more about particle and high energy physics. It lies in a tunnel of about 16 miles in circumference. Many scientists believe that the collider could generate a black hole which could destroy the Earth or even cause a whole multitude of dangerous phenomena. Number 4. Starfish Prime. On July 9th, 1962, the USA detonated nuclear weapons outside of the Earth's magnetic field. About 1.4 megatons of TNT was used. It generated a tremendous amount of energy and travelled further than the USA had anticipated, so far in fact that it disabled the streetlights in parts of Hawaii. The unusual amount of radiation could have destroyed the currents that keep the Earth stable. The Starfish Prime came at number 4 in the list of our most terrifying experiments in history. Number 3. Live again. Could anyone in the world make the dead live again? The answer is someone actually tried to do just that. A doctor by the name of Robert E. Cornish. He tried to raise the dead back by first placing them on a seesaw so the blood would keep moving up and down, and then he injected the body with anticoagulants and epinephrine. His experiments failed as none of the test humans were able to come back to life, but he did manage to revive 2 dead dogs, but they were clinically put to death later on. Number 2. Controlling the mind. The idea of mind control is a pretty appalling idea itself, and no, this isn't science fiction but reality. Jose Delago, a Spanish professor, developed a technique for mind control. He invented a stimoceiver and planted it on the animal's brain. It was operated by remote control, which was used to electrically stimulate different regions of the animal's brain. He achieved results and could involuntarily move the limbs of the animal's body. Number 1. The nuclear test. Many people would have not dreamed that a nuclear test would have happened. Like, why would you do an experiment which has a chance of destroying the whole of humanity? But thanks to the USA, this has happened. The Trinity nuclear experiment took place on July 16, 1945, carried out in Hernando da Muerto Desert. About 20 kilotons of TNT was used, and it was considered one of the most dangerous, most terrifying experiments in history ever carried out, because its consequence could have proved very fatal. There you have it. Those are some of the most terrifying experiments in history. If you enjoyed the video, then please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to our channel if you are new here. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you then.